Hi Year 12, this is Hamlet. We're working our way through from Act 1. In this recording we're just going to focus on Scene 1. I'm going to be moving fairly quickly because I just want to focus on the important parts for the study that we're doing. You should keep your copy of Hamlet open and follow along, highlighting where I highlight and writing down anything that I say that you think you need to remember. So I'll try to sort of translate as we go into modern English so that you can follow the plot, and I'll also draw attention to any language techniques that I think are important. So we start in Act 1 in the front of the castle at night with guards on duty. So Francisco is on duty and Bernardo enters to take his place. So we have a series of really short, fast-paced lines at the beginning of this scene, which creates a sense of suspicion and tension. This is really important because it sets the scene and it introduces the audience to the idea that Denmark is at a time of tension and crisis. So it really creates the atmosphere that pervades the rest of the play. So Bernardo hears Francisco enter and he says, "Who's there?" Francisco says, "No, you tell me who's there." Bernardo replies with, "Long live the king," showing that he's faithful. Francisco realizes it's Bernardo. And then Francisco says, "Oh, you're here just in time. It's, good timing." And Bernardo says, "Yep, it's 12 o'clock. You're off the hook. Go to bed." And Francisco says, "Thanks, it's really cold." And then they just talk about his guard duty, which is not particularly important. And Bernardo just says, "Horatio and Marcellus are supposed to come on watch with me tonight, so if you see them, tell them to hurry up." We have some more fast-paced, tense lines where Horatio and Marcellus come in and they can't see each other, so they have to identify themselves again. And it's very tense. But nothing of any importance is said until down the bottom here, where Marcellus says, "What, has this thing appeared again tonight?" So he wants to know if the ghost has appeared already. And Bernardo says, "No, I have seen nothing." And Marcellus says, "Horatio says 'tis but our fantasy and will not let belief take hold of him touching this dreaded sight, twice seen of us." So Horatio says, "You guys are dreaming on guard duty, there is no ghost." And so Marcellus says, "So I've made him come along with us so that he can prove that the ghost is real and see that we're not crazy." And Horatio kind of laughs at them and says, "Tush, tush, 'twill not appear. There's no such thing as the ghost." And Bernardo says, "Oh yeah, well sit down and let me tell you all about the ghost." And as he starts to describe it, the ghost actually enters. And so Marcellus and Bernardo sort of describe the ghost to Horatio and say, "Look, it looks just like the dead king." And Horatio says, "Yes, it does." And then they egg Horatio on to speak to the ghost. And so Horatio does. He says, "Who are you? Why are you dressed like the dead king? Why are you warlike? Why are you dressed in armour? I command you to speak." And the ghost ignores him and walks away. They start to talk about what they've just seen and about the fact that it's dressed exactly like King Hamlet before he died, and that he looks quite angry and he's wearing armour. And Horatio comments, "In what particular thought to work I know not, but in the gross and scope of my opinion, this bodes some strange eruption to our state." So bodes means foreshadowing. So he's saying the fact that the ghost has appeared in armour looking angry, this foreshadows something terrible that is about to happen. And he says, "But I don't know what exactly is going to happen." And so Marcellus says, "Well, while we're talking about disruptions to the state, tell me, why is it we have to be on such a strict and observant watch? Why is it that the people who make weapons are so busily making them? Why is it that shipwrights are working so hard to make ships?" So Marcellus is just outlining to the audience, really, that the state of Denmark is that it's in preparations for war. So we're beginning to see through the combination of the jumpiness of the guards, the appearance of the ghost, and then this description, we begin to see that Denmark is really at a moment where it's quite tense and quite stressful for everyone in the entire state. So then Horatio says, "I can tell you why." He says, basically, King Hamlet had a battle with King Fortinbras of Norway. They had a one-on-one duel, which legally meant that whichever person won the other person's lands. So if Fortinbras had won, then Denmark would belong to Norway, but since Hamlet won, Norway belongs to Denmark, and that was a legal battle that was fought. So basically, Hamlet won, so that's why they have control of Norway. However, he says, young Fortinbras of unimproved metal, hot and full. So he's just describing Fortinbras's personality, saying that he hasn't had a chance to test himself in battle yet. He's unimproved, but he's a very hot-headed, tempestuous person, and he wants to win his lands back. So that's the explanation for all the preparations in the land. So there is a description of Denmark saying that in Denmark at the moment it's characterised by post-haste and romage, which just means like upset or bustle or lots of movement, lots of action. And Bernardo says, oh, well, obviously the ghost is just coming to warn us that we're going to go to war with Norway soon. And Horatio uses classical allusions, which is a very Renaissance thing to do, and refers to the signs which preceded the death of Julius Caesar. And he speaks about the moon, which he calls the moist star, the sun and the planets. So you can see that's an allusion to the great chain of being and the idea that the stars and the moons are controlling what happens on Earth. So if the stars and the moons are getting upset and in the wrong position, then that means that things are going to happen on Earth that shouldn't happen. And he says that the sun and the moon and Neptune are like precursor fierce events. They're harbingers preceding still the fate, and prologue to the omen coming on. So he's just saying that what happens in heaven is matched by what happens on Earth. And then the ghost reappears. So they try to talk to it again, and then when it won't talk, they try to attack it, and it leaves. And so they realise that it left when the cock crowed, so it left as soon as morning dawned. And so they're saying, oh, that's because it's a ghost, it can't walk during the day, basically, in a lot of words. And they decide that they're going to speak to Hamlet, and they're going to tell Hamlet about what happened and see if the ghost will agree to speak to Hamlet. And that's Act 1, Scene 1.